Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to CryptoManiacs podcast. The CryptoManiacs. It's like when they say the Ohio State University. You ever hear that? So it's like the
I,
crypto.
I agree with you absolutely.
Yeah, the
Down
CryptoManiacs.
my way, they call it the U, or they
The
used to for University of Miami.
Miami. Yep. The
That was
U.
when they were kick ass in football. I don't know if they are anymore. I don't think they are. But yeah, so the Cryptomaniac show,
Yes.
it's like the Tonight Show. You know.
Yeah. There's only one. The. It's the show.
Yeah.
That's Task. I'm John. Welcome to the show. It's good because we haven't had a Q&A session for a while because we've had special guests and scheduling.
I thought we had one last Friday.
No, remember, we didn't have the
have...
questions, so it was just me and you rambling.
Gotcha.
Yeah, or ranting. You had some rants, which were...
Yeah, you set me off. I blame you.
Sort of. I promise I won't.
Hey, I caught you and Eliana on replay. I didn't catch you live, but I caught your show last night with Eliana. Some good stuff there.
Not bad, huh?
No, it's not.
We got a lot of good ideas from it, and actually we're developing this whole little concept. Hello, Edgar. We're developing this whole little concept in the CTP Discord now to try to combine the efforts of everyone to get some stuff out there for people to take action and get some better results. So it's going to be interesting to see if the community can come together for that. I'm excited for it. But it's all from literally writing things down 5 years ago and stashing it in my journals and all sorts of stuff. Anyways, anyways. So there you go.
Now, is Thursday just usually you and Eliana? I thought Blaine was on.
Yeah, no, Blaine's just finishing up, right? So Blaine's just got a couple more things, and then he'll be probably next week. He'll be here full time. So, just a couple things he had to dot some I's and cross some T's, but it's usually us three. So, well, it used to be just me and Blaine, and then we dragged Eliana tooth and nail to show up. And it's like we were just talking about Hive Fest before. I guess we'll get into that too for a second. Happy Hive Fest weekend for everyone celebrating. It's like a holiday, right? But Eliana's like in European time, and she shows up to our shows at midnight, doing the shows at like midnight for us. She's a savvy bloke.
Well, yeah, I'm not all that impressed because hell, I see the time of your posts, and you're writing posts usually late at night too. So it's some people burn the what do they call it, the midnight oil, the midnight candle. Now, if she got up at 3 a.m. to do the show,
right,
I tipped my hat to her.
Yeah,
and that was the problem with Hive Fest. You wouldn't have gone to sleep last night. It kicked off as you were probably climbing into bed or about to.
I was going to bed, and then the announcement went out that they were about to go live. Like, time zones, man. They're a problem.
I want anybody in the comment section either listen to the broadcast on recording on 3Speak or on our live comment sections on Vim or on Restream here. What is your opinion? Do you think there are more people on Hive in the Western Hemisphere or the Eastern Hemisphere? Let's take a little informal survey. I think there's more people on Hive in the Western Hemisphere, but I could be mistaken. John, what do you think?
I think it's probably evenly split.
Well, look at that politically correct answer.
No. Think about it. I mean, in North America, you've got North America, then you got South America. So you got basically Canada, the U.S., Mexico, and then you've got the Caribbean, and then South America. So you got your Venezuelan population, which is huge on Hive. So there's a big chunk of people here.
Brazil's pretty good.
But then you go to Europe and Africa and stuff. You've got Nigeria, you've got England, you've got Germany, you've got Poland, you've got a big chunk of people there as well. It's almost, I think, and this is probably I don't know the demographics of the whole blockchain, but Asia might be a big chunk as well. So you've got like three kind of parts of the world that are just
I would agree with you before before the fork from Steam, because there was a big Korean community. I
Right.
don't know if there's that big. I mean, we know up it they hold a lot of hype and like to pump it, but that's
Right.
just a play toy. I don't think there's really that many posts coming that I've seen coming out. I mean, I could be mistaken. I don't see everything
Well, the
that goes
Filipino population is big on
on.
Hive.
That's true. Filipino population is big, so we do have to count that. And India, that's
Yep.
hard to argue with the Indian population. So yeah, when
It's
you
it's spread out, man. It's global, bro. It's
it is
global.
global. It is global. You know, they do have, if you, I mean, we don't have, I don't think, much in China, but India, you know, the population, I read 59% of the population globally, the global population lives in Asia. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
that's just random numbers then probably would lead. Okay, I'm probably wrong, but
Yeah.
anyway, it still sucked that High Fest started my time about 3 a.m., 1 a.m. your time. And so
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to watch it. I was busy this morning, and I'll catch it on replay. It looked to me, looking over the roster, the stuff I would want to see is actually tomorrow, not
Okay.
today.
Okay.
You know, three speaks tomorrow. I mean, Block Trades and Hobo went off to kick
This
it
morning,
off.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they were the first ones. Arcane was today. Uh, but then a bunch I didn't know, which that's something to watch just because I don't know who a lot of those people are.
Right. Yeah. There you go. We got questions, and we got quite a few. So let's dive into your questions this week, and we'll have some fun. You ready, Task? You ready to
Far away.
there? What a time to thrive on Hive. That was my. I'm so witty with the headlines. Anyways, best start. This is John. He's up. Howdy, guys. Question for the smartest crypto people I know. Oh, buddy, dude. Hold on.
You got to get out more, John.
Dude, I'm just, dude, if we're the smartest people, dude, yeah.
Expand your network.
Expand your horizons, bro. I understand the importance of holding and staking worker B, but what does B do for me? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Oops, wrong format. Yes, yeah. Thanks for calling. First time caller, long time listener. Yeah. Oh, dude, what does B do? Oh my gosh. As a Hive top 10 Hive Engine witness, what does B do? B is basically kind of like the currency, but it's also a staking token. So it's got a proof of brain element on it. It's what the Hive Engine team accepts for payments if you want to buy the tokens. You need B to basically buy things in the Hive Engine ecosystem. If you want to set up tokens, you want to set up tribal decks, liquidity pools, you need B as the token to do it. But it's also got very flying under the radar. It's got a proof of brain concept. They actually have, I think it's Hive, I think it's tribal deck / blog or something like that. They actually have a front end that if you create on that and you put the hashtag Hive-engine, you actually get B tokens for creating. So there's a proof of brain element to it. But it's really the currency that is used to buy liquidity pools, if you want to set up tokens. That's basically what B is. Now there's other use cases for it, but that's a big thing with the witnesses on Hive Engine. Like what are we using worker B? Are we using B? What should be the stake coin that determines governance? It is worker B. I hope to goodness it's worker B, but every indication, I've seen the rumblings, I've heard it in the witness chat that they're really trying to figure out how to do more with the B token. And so, not financial advice. I'm not saying go sell your worker B, because me, Blaine, and Eliana are pretty heavy holders of worker B. But it's Hive Engine is still centralized. I mean, and as a witness there, they, we have opinions that can give, but there's a pecking order. It's whatever goes is going, and everything I'm seeing, it's kind of like worker B they're trying to figure out a way to make B the main token for governance and everything. But right now it's worker B, and I hope it's worker B for a long time, because worker B is great. I love worker B. Do you love worker B?
I don't have any worker B.
Mm.
And I sell my B when I get it.
There you go.
Perfect. And I buy SPS these days.
Heck yeah. Heck, don't worry, dude. There is Splinterlands questions. Look at that. The next one up, we have a Splinterlands question.
Yeah, I know. We had a Splinterlands guest on Tuesday. We got this today. Then we got a Splinterlands guest on Tuesday. So you're just in hog heaven.
Dude, did you see how quick they sold out of Rift Watchers pre-sale?
I watched your program last night. I told you you couldn't help but talk about it. You gave a blow-by-blow description about what you did and how you got yours, and 45 seconds later, there was none more to be had.
Insanity. Yeah, absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. Hello, Path to Fire. Welcome. Okay, so Tokenized has got, I love Tokenized. Tokenized always on the same wavelength. We're always thinking Splinterlands here. So, hello, Maniacs. My question today is about Splinterlands. How do you feel about the switch on battle rewards from DEC? Yeah, Path to Fire, serious FOMO. Unbelievable FOMO. I'm sitting there trying to figure out how to raise $3,000 so I can go buy a validator node. You know, I'm just such a degen. It's so bad. Anyways, how do you feel about the switch on battle rewards from DEC to SPS? Is there a potential risk in rewarding the governance token in a way that's so easily farmable by bots? Like, yeah, there's always the risks. And I mean, Splinterlands, they do a lot of things to protect from abuse, which is great. There'll always be someone who's smarter in the room that will figure out a way to get around things. But as a whole, I don't see it being a massive problem because they're so on top of that stuff, and the community's on top of it too. How do I feel about it? I love it. I absolutely love it. My efforts now are rewarded in SPS, which is the governance token, which is now I'm bullish on both. I'm bullish on all aspects of Splinterlands, DC and SPS, but I'm trying to grow my SPS stake. So if I'm going to actually play the game and then get some SPS for actually playing it, to me, it's a huge win. I love it. I personally absolutely love getting SPS for playing the game. And obviously Task is bullish too because he's buying SPS. So, you know, there you go. So
I'm just following the suggestion, not financial advice, but the suggestion of Neil McSpadden. So he seemed to indicate that there was some nice upside on SPS, and with all that's going on, hard to argue with the logic.
Yeah. And hello, Lisa in Vim. Welcome. Yeah, same with me. Path to Fire says I'm so happy about getting the SPS. Yeah, it's great. Do you hear that rumbling in the background? Do you hear the crunching?
No?
Okay. Because I got my Rottweiler is deciding to chew a plastic bag right beside me.
Oh,
so this is just, added bonus for you guys. Give me a second. Well, you're gonna hear the musical interludes of Task for 1 second as I get the bag away from my dog. So.
Well, to ask a question, and he left. So, oh well, that's what happens when you come to Mickey Mouse Hour. You could at least ask the question, and then I could have started answering it while you did domestic.
It was like a second. It was just a second. I was gonna get. I thought it was good for the listeners. Yeah.
You did good.
Thank you, sir. Guess what? We have another Splinterlands question. Are you excited?
How did I guess?
DevPress says, I have a question. I recently read about Splinterlands getting its own fest or event, and it seems the popularity is rising. Do you think it would bring more cash flow and new users to Hive, or has Splinterlands grown beyond Hive and may not get much benefit of it? I think everything Splinterlands does is absolutely fantastic for Hive, personally, because every single account that Hive that Splinterland needs a Hive account. So to me, it's a huge win. I don't know. What do you think?
Are you asking me a Splinterlands question? What was the question?
What do you think? He recently read about Splinterlands having its event.
It's a good idea. I mean,
it's going to be good for Hive. Sorry?
It's anything. I mean, we see the excitement out of a certain group of people who are going to Hive Fest, and it helps. It's hard to get that digitally. even as much as we have the technology and we Zoom and all this other stuff, there's something about getting together with people who share a similar interest, whether it's Hive, whether it's Splinterlands. And,
Right.
I think it's great. And I think it's great for Splinterlands to do this. And also because a lot of people involved in Splinterlands, not all, a lot of people are hardcore, longtime Hivers. It's a way for them to get together. So it's kind of like a mini Hive Fest in North America or a follow-up Hive Fest. It's a gathering of people from Hive. Yes, there will be Splinterlands people who don't know what Hive is, don't really give a shit. Um, so I think that's a good thing. I think we need more of them to really solidify the core that we have in each of these projects. I'd love to see, and there's been some discussion, about Leo Finance doing something and
Right.
a Leo Fest, if you will, or a Leo Palooza or something.
Over because I was trying to get to Splinterfest just because I thought it would be easier for me to get there, but the powers that be, yeah, we'll get into that later. But I was, in this affiliate marketing online business world for over 20 years now, and one of the biggest things I attest to any type of success I found over the past 20 years plus was going to live events. The people you meet, the hands you shake, it's not necessarily to go and listen to the presenters and stuff like that. That's not what these things are for. It is completely networking. It is building relationships with people. You might do business with them. You might, do a trade with them when it comes to Splinterlands. You might, there's camaraderie, there's community. There's nothing that beats it. There's absolutely nothing that beats a live event where people are actually shaking hands. It's amazing. It's so if you guys ever get a chance to go to one of these things, whether it's Hive Fest next year or Splinterfest in the next couple of weeks or whatever, make the commitment, make the effort to try to get to them because they're absolutely fantastic, and it'll just explode your appreciation, let's say, of the people behind these communities. That's my pitch for Splinterfest. But yes, DevPress, I think it's a huge benefit for Hive. Because you got to remember, there's still only like 100,000 active accounts or something like that on Splinterlands, right? It's not like, and then now go look at the gaming platform, something like Roblox or Minecraft or Call of Duty, and it's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people. It will benefit Hive the more Splinterlands gets big.
Yeah,
absolutely,
without a doubt.
Absolutely. It's
fantastic. If for no other reason, all of us can post and point. Anytime we mention Hive, we can point to Splinterland. So, and to use Splinterlands and to use the new soccer game, you're going to need a Hive account. So,
yep.
I mean, right there from the start, they're showing the Hive account management system,
which is superior in my opinion. But we're a little biased. So. C-Pole is up. Hey guys, nice to see you again. The thing is, I can't wrap my head around is Ethereum. Many people are criticizing Exchange because I heard they are going to get more of the proof of stake. Excuse me, I said proof of share because the next word was share. Proof of stake share of the pie. Absolutely, they will. I personally don't own any ETH, but after Splinterlands talking about there's more Splinter doing the special Rooney cards, I can't stop thinking that I should focus to earn more ETH. However, I'm concerned about the fees and all the gas mumbo jumbo. I was wondering too, is it a safe way for a little investor like me to test the icy Ethereum waters, or everything is already lost due to the exchanges? What do you think about it, guys? Of course, it's not financial advice, but maybe, as Luthien says, maybe financial advice. Financial advice. Excuse me, I play on words. Thank you very much for the chance again to learn from both you guys. Okay. So, yeah, the exchanges are going to be the kingpins. Let's be honest, that's a big reason why it went to proof of stake. So exchanges get more power. They are going to be the big account holders, and they're staking, and it's, yes. I hate Ethereum. I get it. And I know there's a bunch of Ethereum questions this week. I'm not a fan of it. I hate it. And I get it. I understand why everyone loves it. I think it is like the most it's the most unfriendly user experience in the history of all online products. That's a big, bold statement, but it's up there. MetaMask is awful. If you don't do one thing right, it will cost you a ton of gas fees. And even if you do things right, it still costs you gas fees. It's just not. I'm not a fan of how it works. Will the merge help? I don't know enough about it. But I agree with you. The Rooney thing got my attention. I'm really curious about it. I have a whole bunch of Ethereum-based tokens that maybe, crossing fingers, I could sell on Uniswap and get some Ethereum so I could go buy that Rooney card that Splinterlands is doing. But it's just not a user-friendly experience for people that don't really know how to use it. Now, experts like, let's say, Cal, very comfortable in that environment. That's why you see so many bridges between Ethereum and Hive and Leo and Polygon, because he's comfortable in that environment. He understands that. But for the little guy, it's a learning experience. It really is. It's not that user friendly though. I don't know. Fast, what do you think about MetaMask, Ethereum, and?
Well, I think it'd be like learn how to drive, and only doing local roads and not learning how to drive on the interstate because you're scared. Ethereum's not going away. There's too much money there. And as I've said all along, Ethereum's going to be the banker chain. And don't believe for a second the CEX, the centralized exchanges, will not end up being banks. They will have to be. And do not think for a second that Coinbase will stay free of banker ring. At some point, Coinbase will be bought out by the likes of JP Morgan or somebody like that. So they are going to be in control. I read and Addicted's been putting it out, and they call me Dan, who was on Monday, has been talking about this for years. Because of the switch to proof of stake, I think two wallets control like 46 or 45% of the vote, of the stake, of the pool. So that's what's going to happen. Is it's going to end up pooling. These pools are going to end up in the hands of just a few people, and they're going to be running the chain. Now, if you think that the forks of the EVM are done, I think you're crazy, because I think there's going to be more and more forks. We're not going to just have BSC, Polygon, and whatever else is out there. There will probably end up being dozens and dozens of forks of EVM. And so, there's going to be a lot of activity going on it, a lot of DeFi activity. And obviously, when you talk to the likes of Dan and Starkers, they're well aware of that. They're looking at tapping into that. They're looking at making Hive a transactional layer for those tokens. But at the end of the day, it's well worth it to go through the exercise and learn, because if you don't, I mean, that's like saying, well, there will be nothing else built on there. I think it's just going to keep growing. Now, I don't know about the announcement that you're talking, but what I do know is the fees are down compared to where they were a year ago or 7 months ago. So it's probably not a bad time to start playing around. But to learn, go play on BSC, go play on Polygon, because they have very, very small fees. I think BSC costs you 25 or 50 cents, and Polygon costs you a few cents.
It's nothing.
Yeah. It's the same thing. You just have to switch. Once you learn MetaMask and learn how to switch between the chains, it's the same freaking process. Ethereum has probably a lot of stuff it offers. It has a lot of money. I agree with you in terms of the long-term usability. I don't see it there because of the fees. So social media is out. Probably many aspects of gaming around. Yes, you could use NFTs. Yes, you could use it for, in-game assets. Okay, that it'll work for, but there's limitations to it. And, even with Leo Glossary, we had Brian of London on. If he tried to do pod ping on Ethereum, it would cost them a fortune. If I tried to do Leo glossary on Ethereum, it would cost me a fortune. So, I agree with you that Hive has a lot of advantages, but let's not overlook the big bear in the room because, I think ultimately when it comes to building out what effectively could be similar to corporations, I think that's going to be on the EVMs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vaynard follows this up. He has a little, what's the outlook on ETH after the merger? I mean, it's just like Tass said, this is the banker coin. This is the big boy. This is there's the rumors of the flippening, right? Like it will overtake Bitcoin one day. It can happen because it's actually, this is the thing. As much as it's got the high user fees and it's still got use case. It's got a big use case. It's got massive use case. And
I mean, when you think about it, if you're involved, think of this. If you are a major Wall Street player, is $100 transaction fee going to bother you when you're taking a $5 million or $10 million stake and moving it around, or 20 million or 50 million? No, it doesn't bother you in the least. So that's where, you and I complain because we're moving, $50 and it costs us $20 in transaction fees. That's the difference. Well, if we were playing with, 500,000, we wouldn't care about $20, but we're not playing with 500K.
Yep. There you go. And Vaynard follows a little Splinterlands question. He mixed it in here. This is nice. SPS or DC, which should be the focus amongst the two? It depends. It depends on. It's real. I was really cool. Yesterday, I was watching Bulldog's live stream, and he was talking about how he was, going all in on SPS, and then he's like, you know what? I want to get into DC, and then he kind of like talked himself out of it and said, maybe voucher is something I should look at. So this is what's cool about Splinterlands. There's so many different projects or tokens that they have that all serve different use cases and needs. Myself personally, I'm SPS. I know that the more SPS I get, the more voucher I will generate. Generating DC doesn't do anything for me. There's no return unless you put it into a liquidity pool or something. But I'm focusing on SPS, which in turn develops vouchers for me. So that's my angle, but that's just me.
I did a video, and I've done videos previous on Hive, but I focus exclusively on Splinterlands. And again, not being an insider, not being somebody who really is involved in the game. The Splinterlands is just like Leo Finance. It's just like the Hive ecosystem. It's so many opportunities. And as you said, you can go SPS, you can go DEC. Then, of course, you got vouchers. You got all your cards. You got land. You got this. You got that coming up. You got different packs. Do you open your packs? Don't you open your packs? If you open your packs and you get cards, what do? Do you rent them out? Do you sell them? Right. There are so many options. And that is very, very powerful for a platform because there's something there for everybody. Are you a player? You explained it on Tuesday, John, how you went from an investor to an investor/player and how that kind of changed your mindset with at least the cards, because you went from, well, what's going to be the most valuable card, or what's going to have the most alpha, what cards are going to have the most alpha, right, versus, well, what cards have strong alpha, but also have the utility that I need in the game.
I could win a game by having it.
Yeah. And what does that do for me? And so these are all things that as Splinterlands expands, as Leo Finance expands, I'm sitting on, I did a power up of Leo yesterday at 4,800. I have another almost 16,000 of Leo. I was sitting on 20,000 liquid Leo because I don't know what the fuck to do with it. And so I powered up 4,800 on LPUD. And I'm trying to decide what to do with this 16,000, which I think is about $1,000. Mm-hmm. And now I'm trying to say, okay, do I hold it in Leo? Do I, now that Polycub is really cheap relative to where it was? I mean, I can get a whole lot of Polycub for that. Or do I jump on the Cup bandwagon? And these are choices they have. And John, I've seen you go through this. You've talked about this on the air. You go through the same thing in Splinterlands. Where do you go? You mentioned, well, now I'm trying to think of $3,000 on a validator node.
I know.
You know, these are just all these options that are out there, and it's like, where do you go? And that's the cool thing about Hive, you know. And I know not all of this is exactly on Hive, like Polycub's on Polygon, and Cub Finance on BSC, and you know, Splinterlands is on their own server. Plus, they have stuff on Wax, but it doesn't matter to me. It's all in the Hive ecosystem, and their tentacles that are reaching further out. So we go out there, whereas they're reaching further out to try to draw people in. But look at all these opportunities, and I get excited. I get called, a high fanboy and all this other bullshit.
A shill, professional.
A shill, and all this other shit. And well, look at the downvotes. What are you, a fucking idiot? I mean, the downvotes. Look at Splinterlands. What downvotes are there in Splinterlands? Look at Leo Finance, Polycub, Cub Finance. Look at all these other options. You know, Rising Star. I mentioned that the other day. That keeps showing up on more of my feed, because I guess that's getting more popular. Somebody who I really respect put up a post. He's jumping into Hash Kings. Don't know crap about that game, but you know what? That's out there. So, and then of course we got CyberX keeps working forward. I mean, who knows what that'll look like? Look at all these opportunities, and you're sitting there worried about downvotes. It's like, you know, okay, I understand if you're a content creator, but it sucks. Well, figure out a workaround. Don't let it discourage you. You know, get involved in CTP. I don't see a lot of downvoting on CTP. Get some CTP tokens. Then get you some listeners. Then, you know, that'll get you some other stuff down the road, because I'm sure CTP and listener holdings will relate to other projects you bring out in some way, shape, or form. You know, get some Leo Finance, and then, you know, start powering up. Get more not Leo Finance. Get Leo token powered up. Get more Leo. Then get in Polycub or Cub Finance, or just hold it and keep powering it up till the new microblogging airdrop takes place, whenever the hell that'll happen. I mean, there's so many different ways to approach this these days, and more keep showing up. And Splinterlands, I mean, I got off on a tangent here with Hive, but Splinterlands is leading the charge, even for somebody who doesn't pay attention to what hell's going on. It seems like every couple months there's new opportunities to earn, to grow your stake, to make money, and, you know, to get rewarded. And last month or a few weeks ago was this soccer game, and announced, well, your SPS holders are going to get you some of these soccer tokens. Great. I don't know shit about what this soccer game is going to be, but I'm going to get a few tokens. Not as much as John, certainly not as much as McSpadden. But you know what? What did I put into it? Not a whole hell of a lot. And I'll get some tokens, and, you know, then I have this choice. What do I do with them? Do I hold them and see if this game takes off? Do I sell them and get more SPS? What do you do? Those are opportunities. And it has nothing to do with blogging.
Or the downvotes. Yeah, for sure.
Or downvotes, or curation, or upvotes, or can you write 500 or 1,000 words? It has nothing to do with that. If you want to do that, fine. But look at all the shit I just went through on this 5-minute tirade that has nothing to do with any of that. Stop letting the excuses. We'll go back to last week. Stop letting the excuses stop you. Stop letting other people stop you. If you don't find success in one area, go to another area. There's, you know, hundreds of different opportunities on Hive.
Amen. Preach it, Pastor. NFT BBG says,
hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amen. Any thoughts on listeners? Yes, listeners is amazing. It's still 95% CTR. It's great. It's wonderful. And we love it. That's it.
No. Well, I mean, it's, again, you got one developer, part-time. Starting next week, he goes full-time. Give it some time. Patience, grasshoppers. Listeners, CTP, there's a couple applications, one which I know about, two that I don't know about, that are on tap, and we'll see what happens. I mean, it's like, you know, give it another 6 months. I mean, it sucks that we keep saying wait another 6 months, but that's just how things go. These guys are building. Leo Finance is building. Splinterlands is building, and they're all doing it in a bear market. Speak Network's building.
we are showing up each and every day, and the product as it's working is fantastic. Really good interaction. Most of these questions are from listeners. People saw my post, and I'm still getting 95%, even higher click-through rates, which is great. So, anywho, it's fantastic. There's a really good post. Shanabeer did it like last week or something, and it was absolutely fantastic. It broke down why your traffic increases like 300% with using list nerds. Look at the use case for it. Look at what this is doing. I know people want me to talk about price and inflation and all that. It's way down. The inflation has been really axed because everyone wanted it, so it's there. Now it's just looking at the use case of it. It's working. It's fantastic. It's driving traffic to people's blog posts. The interaction and engagement is there. It's just continuing to build. So there you go.
It's a marketing tool. If you think about it, if there was no token associated with it, would everybody be creaming in their pants at a 95% open rate? Of course you would. I mean, this is unheard of in the email marketing world. And here's a application. Now, the only reason you have those damn click-through rates, open rates, is because of the tokenization. But here's something where you can send out a post and get a 90 or 95% open rate. That is unheard of. And then if it is a Hive post, most of the people, because they are Hivians, will read the article, especially if it's something they're interested, leave a comment, perhaps give an upvote.
That's what I do. I upvote tons of content, and it's usually from listeners, I see. So, use case. Our friend says, the cost of goods and services in fiat currencies is rising globally. This is generally called inflation. How, if at all, does flat inflation, affect crypto inflation? As a result, should sound money cryptos outperform fiat? I will let this guy to the left of me handle this as I sit back and listen.
Sound money. Sound money is a term for fixed money. And fixed money always pools. So don't buy into the bullshit of sound money. And inflation is expansion of the money supply. It's not an increase in goods and prices. You will have an increase in goods and prices from an expansion of the money supply or let me phrase it this way, an increase in prices can result from an increase in the money supply, but do not have to result in an increase in the money supply. And what we have taken place here about the price of goods and services, which, by the way, generally across the board, services have not increased since 2019. The price of services are still below the 2019 level. The price of goods, some goods are up. Some goods have plummeted. Look at the price of computers, what happened. They skyrocketed and they've dropped like a brick. Televisions, things of that nature. Now, of course, we still have gas. We still have food. We still have many other forms of energy that are elevated. But they shut down the global economy. So you've had price increases due to supply chain issues. And you hear about this in the automobile industry. Everybody's talking about the chips. Oh, well, these car companies can't get any chips. So that's the reason why they're not pushing out as many cars. And that's why car lots, new car lots are empty and the prices are going through the roof. Well, there's some validity to that. And so when you want to look at what's taking place, everybody wants to say, oh, well, it's just the money supply. Well, with the US dollar, the money supply hasn't been increasing in 15 years because dollars are created by the commercial banks and lending, not necessarily funding, because a lot of entities got funded through the capital markets by floating bonds. That's not new money. New money comes from commercial banks, from depository banks. And this is the same and true with the euro, the yen, and the pound. They all operate under this fractional reserve banking lending type system. So when you have a flat money supply in terms of the dollars that are out there, and then you have a problem with your collateral, which we've had since the great financial crisis, that affects the overnight lending markets, which are in extreme problems. You have major issues of sustainable growth. And that's what everybody misses is if global trade expands, which over time global trade just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, guess what? You need more money to sustain that. Why? Think about it logically. People want to be fucking paid. So if you don't have the money to pay people, how can you expand your business? If you can't expand your business and you put that across an entire economy, you are not going to have economic growth. You are going to have, at best, anemic economic growth, which we've had in Japan for 30 years. We've had in the EU for more than a decade, and we've had it for more than a decade in the United States. We've had anemic growth since the great financial crisis. And this is costing trillions of dollars in economic productivity that could be going into people's pockets. So trying to ascribe a monetary problem to everything is a mistake, because there's many, many variables, many, many components to all of this. So how does this relate to crypto? This actually was the topic of my article this morning. Since we have a US dollar deficiency in the real economy, and what the Fed prints and what central banks print are not legal tender. So they don't get into the real economy. Since we had a collateral shortage, a major collateral shortage in the euro dollar system, we do not have the money out there either domestically in the US, and it's the same in the EU, and it's certainly the same in Japan, although Japan also has demographic issues on top of that. And there isn't the ability to expand the global economy or the global money supply. And so what you have is you have basically an impasse in terms of growth. And that's why growth is slowing across the world. Cryptocurrency, in my opinion, can really kickstart this, because we have about $1 trillion market cap, and that's just a drop in the bucket. Trust me when I tell you, we need probably about $20 trillion to feed the global economy to kickstart global growth. That means you need cryptocurrency to experience a serious upside, to have the money to do things to fund and invest projects. Because guess what happens? If a bank is not giving out a loan, or if somebody's not taking out a loan to open up a second restaurant and going and putting a mortgage on the house to open the second restaurant, that economic productivity is not there. Now, if that person goes to open up a restaurant and gets turned down for the loan because banks aren't lending because it's risky, guess what happened? Economic productivity is not realized. Obviously, if the money supply increased by $250,000 and was given to that person to open up this restaurant and fund the restaurant, and if that person obviously knew what the hell they were doing, it would create more jobs, it would create more economic value, and would expand the economy. And that's what's happening all over the world. And so, what little funding we've had the last 15 years is these zombie corporations. Well, it's not only zombie, it's also Apples of the world and all these companies going and floating bonds, which is fine, but that's not creating new money. That's just taking from existing dollars or existing euros and doing that for stock buybacks. That doesn't help the general economy. And that's the problem that we're looking at. That's why I say with cryptocurrency, the big thing is to get the financial infrastructure in place so we can start to create more cryptocurrency, and then get into the investing and funding, where all of a sudden cryptocurrency is used to build a plant, where cryptocurrency is used to fund a game that creates millions of dollars in economic value. Look at Splinterlands. I mean, Splinterlands could end up being $1 billion game. That's a lot of economic value being generated by one game. And so that's what you need to spread it out. And how do you get that? Well, developers want to be paid money. Engineers want to be paid money. People who put up plants and buildings want to be paid money. Marketing people, advertising people, accounting people, financial people, they all want to be paid money. And then to build a lot of this stuff out requires computers. It requires raw materials like cement and bricks and all this stuff. That all takes money. So that's where I think people lose the idea of, well, if there's a lot of money, it'll just start the prices have to go up. No, you also have to take into account investing and funding and building and ROI and stuff like that, because that's what a CFO looks at. A CFO at Tesla is sitting there when Elon says, I need $1 billion to build the plant. Well, what's it going to cost? And I got a good interest rate. He doesn't care about the interest rate. The CFO is saying, what's our return? well, we won't make money for 5 years, then we'll make 1%. Screw you, get the hell out of here. But if Elon says we'll make 75% a year, the CFO doesn't care if it's a 20% mortgage. That's how they look at it. What is the return? What is happening with the money? And all the money that Agrode and Matt and whoever else spent with Splinterland, as you can see, just look at the economic value where it is now. Project that out 3, 4, 5 years. If this is $1 billion, $1.5 billion, $2 billion in economic value, obviously that's money well spent. So printing new money to create Splinterland is probably a pretty good idea in my mind. So that's how you have to take a look at things.
And that's why he answered it and I didn't. Thank you for the question,
Well, you were talking about that before on air, and I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I gave you all the insight. Yeah. He's just regurgitating what I told him. Mr. David Armstrong, who was watching on Vim, wants to know, there's over 700 second-layer tokens listed on Hive Engine. Only around 100 of these have volume in the past 24 hours. Most of them are related to the Hive games. Excluding the gaming tokens, I am finding an easy way to determine all the use case for the remaining Hive Engine tokens. Take OneUp, for example. I understand it is promoted as the top gaming community on Hive, but I was also trying to find out about the other use cases in development as well. How to proceed for it and others. Yeah, I mean, the OneUp thing is interesting. It's gone through change of ownership. We were some of the angel investors in it. I have no idea where we stand in that anymore because the shift of ownership of the token. The use case for it is it's a front end. It's a token for talking about gaming and NFTs, and then they have the liquidity pools. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it much lately. Again, it kind of comes back to use case development and community. It's my 3 core primary factors I need to determine, the use case for the validity, let's say, of a token. And it doesn't even have to be on CoinMarketCap. It can be on Hive Engine. Mm-hmm. If the project has use case development and community, I'll take a look. Leo Finance has it all. All the Splinterland stuff has it all. CTP and listeners, I know people don't really like us, but we have it all. We have that. We have the development, the use case, and the community. So, that's what I would do for any of these projects. Yeah, there's because it costs barely anything to create a token. I think it's like 100B, which is like maybe $10 or something to create one of these tokens. So it's nothing to throw up a token and say, ta-da, here's our token. It's the development of it. It's the continued promotion of it, the talking about it, the using of it. That's where I put my attention. And I'm by no means, the staunchest investor here, but that's what I do. I look at use case development and community. If it's there, no matter what the token, no matter what the front end, no matter what the exchange it's on or listing service it's on, that's what helps me. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you got a lot of garbage out there. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of it is similar to the ICO craze. People might have a great idea, but can they pull it off? And this is why you will find anybody who watches our show for a few weeks, we keep going back to the same thing because that's where we see exactly what John talked about. Now, does that mean everything is, everything is garbage? No, we don't know every project that's out there. We can't follow every project. As I said, I related about Rising Star, Hash Kings. Now, I don't know if these projects have tokens, these games, but I mean, this is just stuff I'm seeing from going through and watching what people are posting on Leo Finance. Maybe it's worth taking a look. I'm in SPI. I was in SPI in the earliest days. I was in LBI in the earliest days. I have income token. I have EDS, the Eddy token. These are income tokens, and they're different funds that provide a return. I'm in the seed I got the seed token. So, there, if you have your income token and you can look and see what's going on, then you can get an ROI there. But outside of that, you have to go back to exactly what John said, because if there is no development and if this stuff's not talked about, what's going to pull it out of the abyss? And as you said, I mean, out of 700, 100, only 100 have any volume. And I hypothesize most of that 100 has minimal volume because there's not a lot of volume on Hive Engine at all. What is all this stuff? And so,
Right.
it reminds me of the penny stock world. You can go in and look at, thousands of penny stock companies, and many of them have good stories, but it's garbage. And everybody's looking for the Toys R Us and or the Microsoft, and you might find it, but odds are against you. And so there might be some 1000Xers in those Hive Engine tokens, but I'd be very careful. You better look at what's going on, and what John said, his three criteria. I stand by that too. That's where you have at least a fighting chance. No guarantees, but at least a fighting chance.
We'll combine a couple questions here. My Path to Fire and Yakingo, they wanted to talk about Ethereum, so I'll touch on that in a second here. But what do I think is best? My Path to Fire wants to know DEC or SPS. I touched on that earlier. I think they're both fantastic. I'm just into SPS because I love it's a governance token, and then I can actually earn it now from playing the game. So I'm in all the liquidity pools to get more SPS. I stake my SPS. So that's for me personally. But DEC, again, is the peg. They're trying to peg-ish it. And it's used for purchasing cards and purchasing things inside the game. So it's whatever you really want it for. The use case. There's both use cases for that. As for the merge, again, if you're doubting Ethereum, you haven't been paying attention. How do I think it's going to go? I think it's going to be interesting. I'm more interested, like we were mentioning earlier, about the Rooney card for Splinterlands. That's my Ethereum attention right now. Try to figure out how I can flip some stuff I got on Uniswap for some Ethereum, so I can get that thing ready to rock. But that's what I don't know enough about Ethereum to tell you how it's going to go or if it's not going to go. Do I think it's going to overtake Bitcoin? It could, because it got real use case. So big time use case. So let's dive into Jimmy's question here. Not so much of a fixated on price question, but just curious to hear your thoughts. Is there a realistic situation where Bitcoin drops to 10K, but Hive goes up to $2 or $3? How Bitcoin goes, Hive goes, at least for now. What do you think, Tass? Because most crypto is attached to Bitcoin. Like as Bitcoin goes, it kind of fluctuates. Hive, though, has not always been that way. We've never had these. Sometimes we have big explosions, but it's never Hive goes up and Bitcoin goes down, or Bitcoin goes up and Hive goes down. They're not necessarily attached, but overall they are. But there is a little bit of difference, I think. But I'm not sure. What would take Hive to get off that Bitcoin?
Well, I think what you're talking about is certainly Bitcoin influences sentiment, and everything tends to follow the sentiment. So if Bitcoin's dropping like a rock, most everything else will. There will be exceptions, but when the downward trend is down, you can think that most tokens and coins will be whacked. And the same thing on the upside. So when the bull runs, most everything gets lifted to some degree. How does Hive get to $2? The Koreans pump it. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. In terms of a sustained move, I think we need some major development breakthroughs, and I don't think you're going to get any of that. I mean, I like half. I like the delegation of resource credits. I like what Speak Network's doing, but quite frankly, I don't think you're going to see that until we get smart contract capability on the second layer, and I don't know when that's coming or how soon. Because that's what's going to allow for the development of some very interesting projects that could pull people in directly to Hive. But then that could be out the window, because all of a sudden, if Splinterlands takes off and, they have to get 1 million more accounts or 1.5 million accounts, that'll have some difference. If we see Project Blank here in the next few months, I don't know what the time frame is, but if that rolls out, could that all of a sudden get 50 or 75,000 active users on Hive? Perhaps. maybe CyberX, if they do. I haven't watched them lately, but they were targeting having something out the end of the year. Does that do something? I don't know. And that'll be interesting to go through a Hive Fest and see what some of these development teams are saying in terms of their timelines, if they give them. Because all of a sudden, if you get something out there that starts, and we don't need all that many people. I mean, keep that in mind. We get 50,000 people active coming to Hive. That'll send this up probably to $2. The problem is getting 50,000 active people, because I don't know what we average, 8 or 10,000 active people a day. So, that's really, it's a very interesting dynamic, because there's so many different ways to go. But I think one of the easiest mental frameworks to operate from is the resource credits. Resource credits require high power. And if you look at high power or resource credits as, quote, your gas fee, we just need to up the transactions and the number of people using it. So they all need 100, 150, 200, 300 high power effectively. Then you just do the math and say, okay, how do we suck up 50 million? How many people do you need to suck up 50 million Hive at 300 apiece? Then you just do a little division. And of course, it's not necessarily that many users, because a lot of it's going to be driven by the apps. The apps are going to be the ones that are going to delegate the resources. So they're going to have to get the high power to make sure they have enough resource credits. And, nobody's going to be able to gauge that. So you say, okay, we'll plan. Maybe we'll get 10,000, but we better plan and get enough resource credits in case we get 20,000. So you go get the resource credit. So you go and buy the Hive and power it up. So these are all things that I think come into play. But it all comes back to users. It comes back to that network effect. And so far, we have not broken that mold. It just hasn't happened yet.
Well, thank you for the question, Jimmy. And finally, we got Lisa. And she's actually got a Hive Engine token question, because she actually created a Hive Engine token. It's called the Time Token. And she hasn't done a lot with it. She added it to Pizza Plan, which is her business, as a payment option, which she used Hive Pay for, just saying. But it really isn't worth much. I guess what I'm asking is, what can I do with it? She's kind of stuck. I think this is a big cycle of life. This is a big, beautiful cycle of life. You've got to make your project and product attractive. So let's not even talk about Time Token. Let's talk about Pizza Plan, which is her business. You create a buzz around it. You create some strategic marketing strategies to raise awareness, get people excited, do promos, do contests. People will want to be a part of the Pizza Plan. Now, a side benefit of that is that one of the upgrades of the Pizza Plan is the rebranding and whatever, which you can use the Time Token for. So you can sneakily kind of mention that, hey, if you use the Time Token to upgrade, I'll give you a discount or whatnot, so that you get people actually wanting the token, because there's a big use case for it. But to me, and this is just one little step to do, but it's the easiest thing I think that any marketer could do to get real use case for their token, is to promote the business that uses the token. So create the hype, the attention, the reason that people would want to spend money with you first. That's where it comes from. It comes from the attraction to Pizza Plan. Do that consistently, and then when they log in and there's a little offer, you say, hey, if you use the Time Token, you get a 50% discount or something. What is the Time Token? Here's a link. You can go buy it. You can earn it. You can do some giveaways or something. You can do little promos with it to raise awareness, because you want to get distribution of it as well. But I think it starts with the product or service. Like, we need listeners to be superior, so people want the token. We need CTP as a whole to be superior, so they want the token. Regardless of everything we'd like to say, that's what people are attracted to, the shiny object. So you got to make your object shiny. That's a quote right there. You need to make your object shiny. What do you think, Dad?
Well, I think this speaks to all of crypto. Forget it. Forget the crypto. Forget the tokenization. Forget the token. You have to build the business. It goes back to what you've been doing for 20 years, John. It's business building 101. And as I was saying, listeners, Fuck the token. Who cares about the token? What is Listeners? It's an email marketing program that has an incredible click-through rate. Think of that. That's what it is. That's the product that the CTP team has to keep building on and improve upon. Who cares about the token? Now, the token, as I said, is tied into it because that's how you get the click-through rates. And then, of course, you always have to work your tokenomics. But you have to focus, and teams need to focus on the business. Right. And too many want to just, I tokenize this, and then I'll do these burns and all this, and the token. And it's like, who gives a shit? Your company is still crap. There's nothing there. What is your business? What is the purpose of the business? And that's where CTP people with the entrepreneurial mindset should be drooling at this, because you have people involved in cryptocurrency this far. Most of it are not entrepreneurs. They are development type people, and some of the development type people have very good entrepreneurial sense, but a lot of them do not. And then you have people who got in who just said, well, it's just all the tokenization. And if I tokenize this will be successful. Why are John and I excited about Project Blank? It's not because tokenize Twitter. Right. It's because here is a platform, potentially, an application that allows us to do what we can do on Twitter without being tied to Twitter, without having the risk of our accounts being canceled, with the ability to do this on blockchain, to be part of a bigger ecosystem. And oh, by the way, you can earn some blank tokens or whatever the hell it's going to be called. That is very powerful. And it's part of Listeners. It's part of blogging. It's part of 3Speak. It's part of the app that I know about that John and Blaine are working on. And all of a sudden you can start to see, as a content creator, now we have a plethora of marketing tools that Project Blank is a part of. That's the role they fill. Now, the fact that they each have their tokens, and there will be a proof of brain token on 3Speak, and there's a token on Listeners, and there will be a blank token, and there's, tokens on CTP, Leo Finance, Hive, STEM Geeks, all these other platforms, fine. But that's not the function they serve. And that's not where the business comes from. Some of them it is, and that's why they're lagging. But when you look at CTP and what Blaine, Eliana, and John are trying to do, they're building a business that these tokens are incorporating. I've said, don't add more tokens, build the value on them, but have the business reflected based upon that. That's what Leo Finance is doing. That's what Speak Network's doing. That's what 3Speak's doing. That's what these projects that we killed it today. That's what Splinterlands is doing. Why are people asking, well, should I get SPS or DEC? Because there's value in the platform, the game, the ecosystem.
That's the
There's
nugget.
Value there. There's a business being built there. And it's a growing business. It's a more successful business. And the more successful the business, the more successful the game, the more the value the cards will have, the tokens will have, because you presume there will be more players. That's what it comes down to. So, Eliana, business built in 101. Forget your token. Now, John's right. You can use that as a marketing. You can use it for contests. You can use it giveaway. You can incorporate it. There's a lot of different things. But you still have to build the core business. You have to go out and get more subscribers, users, players, buyers, customers, clients, whatever it is, for products, for service, whatever you're selling. You have to do that. Now, they don't necessarily have to give you money, because, as Facebook proved, the network effect can create tremendous value. But you ultimately have to monetize this somehow, some way, shape, or form. But again, going back to what John's doing for the past 20 years, to get people to give you money, you better have something, a reason for them to give you money. You better have something worthwhile. And that's not just putting up a page, a landing page, and says, oh, look, buy my product. Here's a whatever. No, you better build value. You need to engage. You use business built in 101. Whether it's online, whether it's affiliate marketing, whether it's finance, whatever it is, you have to build.
You've got to make your business attractive, and I don't mean it by, yes, the standard is, you know, getting a nice website, making it look good, creating social media presence, yada yada yada. But you've got to give people a reason to be attracted to it. You know, just quickly because we're running late here, but I did this last night in the show, and Lisa, you know, asked the question, and she'll remember it. I showed this little thing that I printed out, and it was just a little promo I did probably about 7 years ago. It was for my blog before Steam and Hive. This was Plus One Daily was my blog. And I just created a little contest here. I said, snap a picture of a quote, use the hashtag Plus One Daily, and share it on Instagram, share it on Twitter. And I used to give out books, like physical books. I would do a book of the week, and I would send a book of the week out to one of my subscribers. So something like that to raise awareness, because what it does is it gets people excited. Now, I'm not saying you got to go buy a book every week and send it to someone, but creating little fun things that don't take a lot of effort per se, but people can share it. They can do something with it that will raise awareness to Pizza Plan to get people excited. That is what Task is talking about. It's like not the token. We're not even talking about the token. We're talking about the business. Make the business, treat it like Splinterlands. Splinterlands didn't even have a token when it started. It had cards. It didn't even have a game.
Didn't even have a game.
Didn't even have a game. Card. That's what they focused on. The focus was making that attractive. That was what was exciting. That's what the what if. Oh, look what we're going to do. And now 4 years later, look at it. So I'm not comparing Pizza Plan to that. I'm just saying treat it like the business is what matters. Make that as attractive, attract people to it, get them excited about it. Then you just plug the token in. Then it's a no-brainer.
And also it goes back to what is your unique service proposition? What do you do?
Right.
What role do you fill? What do you give to people? What is it that you are there to deliver? And again, this is, you know, this isn't crypto stuff. This is just, you know, business. Go look at any business book and they'll tell you. Figure out what the hell your market is. What are you looking at delivering to the market and giving people? And if you do that, and remember the number one rule of sales, people don't buy the steak, they buy the sizzle. Yep. So you can use tokenizations. You can use your token to help with the sizzle. But if you have all sizzle and no damn steak, you're just hyping. And you, at the end of the day, even though they buy the sizzle, somebody's going to look at the plate and say, where the hell's the steak? You know, it sounded good coming out of the kitchen, but there's no steak here. Build the business. Build your customer list. Build your email list. Build your subscriber list, whatever it is, and market it. Write about it. Put it on Leo Finance. Hell, I should know, Eliana, because I see your name. I should know not every detail, but I should know most of the details about your project because I'm on Leo Finance every day. Have you been putting up a post about your business at least once a week? Probably 2 or 3 times a week would be more preferential. Have you been doing that? Because if you have, I have not seen your post, but I should come across your post. That's the number one thing you need to do. Get the people in Hive understanding what it is. Because if I don't know the details of your business and you're on my radar, I see your name, so I will click on your stuff. Why am I not clicking on your stuff? You're not putting it out there. Business 101. Yep. And then the great thing about Hive is you can get, as John and the CTP crew does, and so does Leo Finance, guess what? Tap into the, pun intended, Hive mind, the ability to access other people's ideas. I mean, we all like to share ideas and be recognized for how smart we are, even if we're not smart. So ask people, you know, all of a sudden you start putting this up, people will be throwing out ideas at you. And maybe 90% of them are stupid and you say, Baghdad, thank you for your idea. Under your breath, you say, dumbass, don't type that. But then you might get 1 or 2 good ideas and say, oh, crap, I never thought of that. And, you know, that might take you to the next level. Might all of a sudden get you 100 more followers, whatever. Yep.
And it's not limited to the business. You can do this as a content creator. Treat yourself as the business. Yeah, right? Well, everything you do should be business mindset. So, and the kids are going crazy. So,
I guess that's the cue to shut the hell up and turn the show off.
That's the cue, man. They were quiet for an hour and 10 minutes, and now it's like the madness is starting. So, great questions, guys. Thank you very much
Thank you, everybody, for participating, and those who showed up on the live stream. We do appreciate you coming, and helping us out in that way and being loyal followers.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week. Lots of fun stuff happening. Again, happy Hive Fest weekend. You guys go out there and keep creating, keep building, keep stacking, keep accumulating, and we'll be golden. Hopefully. Anyways, later.